I got to tell you, I'm going to be the voice of optimism. I think you're going to beat them tonight. I think that Sean will have ultimately been right when he said it's Ghostbusters week. Not that the Yankees got rid of ghosts, not that the Mets got rid of ghosts, but I do think for a combination of reasons, Tiki, I believe in your football team. And I think tonight's the coming out party where the Giant fan who's excited that they won on Sunday but doesn't fully believe, fully gets on board that maybe this team is better than they thought.
If they beat this team, if they beat this Cowboys team, it's like a reckoning. It's a moment to re-announce yourself. Because think about what Dabes did when he was his rookie season. Now, as a head coach, not that the Cowboys they beat them because they didn't, but it just felt like, all right, the Giants have arrived. And then everything happened a year ago and all the start of this season. And while they played the Commanders well and probably should have won if they had a kicker, and then they beat the Cleveland Browns, there's still like a lack of belief.
No, there really is. I agree with you.
In this team. There's not a lot of, well, we're here. We just need to play good every week. It still feels like team's just not good enough.
Yeah,
we don't have this good player to do X, Y, or Z. And so if you beat the Cowboys at home, a team that you can't beat, kind of like the Jets couldn't beat the Patriots, it all of a sudden just re-announces you.
Yes.
Re-announces Dabes. Re-announces what this Giant team can be. So that's what tonight represents. I hate that it's a short week, to be honest with you, because it feels like the game came too quickly, but it's the opportunity. It's right here in front of you. You just have to take advantage of it.
There are a myriad of reasons why I think the Giants are going to win this game, but let me just spank this one in the butt immediately. I am so sick of these NARPs, these guys that have never played sports, citing history as a reason why a team can't beat another team. I'm sick of it.
I agree.
Like what does Joe Judge's Giants have to do with Brian Daboll's Giants?
Not a damn thing.
Not a damn thing. So for all you Giant fans that are out there that are afraid of the ghost of the Dallas Cowboys, I'm here to try to lead you into realizing that history doesn't mean anything.
We're not scared of Casper.
No!
Speak for yourself. Dak Prescott has owned this team. MetLife Stadium has been Cowboys' homecoming. Those fans live there. They love it there. And I can't stomach and swallow another one of these on tap
Which is why you're not going, and we're glad that you're going to watch it from home. But take that negativity and go out to the island.
Can I tell you?
I will.
I'm going to tell you in all seriousness why, and yes, I'm having some sarcasm because I'm afraid of the Braves, and I've spent a lot of time talking about that, but there is a big difference, in all seriousness, a really, really, really big difference. So a part of my fear for the Atlanta Braves, Teak, is not necessarily just history, it's that they're good.
Yeah.
And they're very good.
Despite the injuries and the setbacks, they have a really good rotation still.
Yes, which I've argued with people about.
Right.
So I respect the Braves. I think they're very good. I know it's only 3 weeks, and you try to be careful in judging what teams are. But prior to this season, when I looked at the NFC East, just I'm one person, I looked at Dallas, and I feel like a team that's breaking. I feel like a team that's broken.
Well, it felt like that before they took a snap.
Before they ever took a snap. And then you watch the last 2 weeks, and you watch their struggles, and you watch the head coach be under fire, and you watch the issues they have on their offensive line, and you look at the talent that they have at running back that's so porous, they're thinking of activating Dalvin Cook, that I look at the Dallas Cowboys, and I can say this about them, and I don't say it about the Braves, not because I'm having fun with you guys, but because I literally believe it from an X's and O's perspective. The Braves are very good. I don't think the Cowboys are. I think they're a flawed team, and I think tonight is an opportunity to take advantage of facing a flawed team, a team that may be on the precipice. If they lose tonight, of blowing things up in some kind of epic way in the middle of the season. I think the Cowboys are a beatable team, and that's why I think tonight the Giants are going to do it.
Well, it's funny because when you looked at this team and all the stars on this team, it was easy to say they're going to be one of the best teams. Talking about the Cowboys, going to be one of the best teams in the division, right? They should be competing for the postseason and pushing deep into the postseason. But when you mentioned the preseason, it felt like everybody was out for their own. And I get it. You have to be. Like when you're up to a contract year and you've earned it, you should demand that. But it became so much more of the conversation than how is this defense going to perform under a new defensive coordinator? Or what's the scheme going to look like? Or what's the connection between Dak and CeeDee Lamb? Or Zeke is back, and how is he going to run behind this new offensive line? Like, all of those conversations didn't exist. And I'm sure they were talked about inside the facility, but it just felt like it was an afterthought. And so I'm not surprised that they've struggled early. I am surprised that this team, which everybody thought talent-wise was one of the best in the NFC, it just feels out of sorts. They don't feel like they're a cohesive unit.
Yeah, and part of what you say is where I try to pause and be fair about Dallas through 3 weeks and say, well, they do have a new defensive coordinator. There has been some changes, and you've said a lot, hey, the first few weeks are like the preseason. Well, we're entering week 4 of the NFL season. The preseason is over. If you are a team that's off to a bad start, if you're a team that looks broken, this is the week where you better fix it or you're going to bury yourselves. Yeah. And that's the pressures that the Dallas Cowboys are facing, but that's also not our problem. Now, I know there's a lot of Cowboy fans out there, and I'm sure we'll hear from you throughout the day as well at 888-808-1019. But I think more about the Giants, and I think more about how from week to week through 3 weeks, they've gotten a little bit better, just a little bit better. The quarterback, well, I don't think he was great last week, has put together 2 pretty damn good performances in a row.
I agree.
And just to put a little perspective on this, just to give you a stat, if one likes stats or believes in stats, Daniel Jones, for just the second time in his entire NFL career, has had back-to-back games with a QB rating over 100. Daniel Jones has a chance. And this stat blows my mind. That's why it's very important for me to repeat, because it sounds fake, but it's not real. Daniel Jones has a chance to be the first quarterback in the Super Bowl era in New York Giant history, the first quarterback since the great Charlie Connerly, to have 2 touchdown passes and no turnovers 3 straight weeks. That has not happened.
It's amazing what happens. Right. It's amazing when you get a great wide receiver on your roster.
Oh, you're giving the league all the credit?
I'm not giving him all the credit, but I'm giving him some credit.
And an O-line that can hold up.
Yeah, exactly. You get some veteran offensive linemen, bring in Illuminor and John Simpson. Like, it just makes a difference.
All of those things are factors.
John Runyon.
All of those things are factors. The offensive line is better. They have a wide receiver that's off to a historically good start. Devin Singletary's looked good other than when he puts the football on the ground. Like, things are trending in a way. And I'm being an IFO. I'm not a Giant fan. I'm not trying to give you pom-poms. As an IFO, things are trending in the right way. But the other thing I feel really good about, and the main reason why I think they're going to pull off this upset tonight, is the pass rush.
Right.
The pass rush that really wasn't that apparent the first 2 weeks of the year. It showed up last week.
Right.
And to me, that has a chance to be the strength of this team. And the Dallas Cowboys offensive line is not your father's offensive line. And I think with Brian Burns announcing himself last week, with Sexy Dexy being one of the more underrated players in the NFL, with Kayvon Thibodeau waking up, I think the Giants have a chance to do something that they haven't done in years, sack Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And I think they've got a chance to do that multiple times. And I think that if all of this happens the way I project it, I think the Giant fan walks into work tomorrow peacocking and truly believing that this team is better than they thought.
I think you're right. It's tomorrow. But I think today, most Giant fans are scared. I think they're nervous.
What are we scared about?
They're nervous because they haven't seen it consistently enough. They have the examples. You could throw the stats out there about Daniel Jones and the 2 touchdowns and the non-interceptions, even though he had one that was given back to him because of the roughing the passer last week. But
doesn't count. It was a penalty.
It still feels like, man, something's not clicking all the way for the Giants. And so I don't think Giant fans are saying we're losing this game, we stink. I think they're saying, I just don't know. I don't know what to expect.
No, but you know what, Teak? And I know you don't want to embrace this because you hate it and it makes you sick.
Yeah.
But I think the hesitation that a lot of Giant fans have is history. I think it's a big part of it, and it's driven you nuts for the last 3 days when it's been Mets-Braves. But your fan base, the fan base you love, they're doing the same thing.
But I think history in baseball is so different than history in football.
What does that mean? The football history counts and the baseball history doesn't count?
It's just... I think when you look at baseball history from a specific opponent, it's like the sample size is so massive. And it's just kind of like, all right, we saw 3 games. We saw 8 games earlier this year. We saw 14 games the year before. It just tells you like how you play against this team. It's just a massive sample size. Where at the Cowboys, it's like, or football, it's just like, all right, we played this team once well, once not so great. We barely lost that game. We got blown out in this game. Like, you don't know. Like, and so now that the season is different, their offensive line is severely compromised. Mm-hmm. Their right tackle just gives up pressure after pressure after pressure. And so, like, you know who they are, you know what they're about, but you also can't draw on what they were a year ago and say that's how they're going to be this year.
No, I agree. Look, it's very similar to what you even said to me about Mets Braves and how different everybody is 2 years later. There's a lot of differences on the Dallas Cowboy roster from 2 years ago and last year to now. Same with the Giants. Now, there are a few people like Dak Prescott who's owned the Giants his entire career. Right. That remains the same, obviously. But I do think in the ethers of sports fans, we are scared of ghosts and we are scared of our history. Now, that can change once your team is better. That can change once you exercise those demons. Uh-huh. The Mets have failed to do that so far. The Yankees have failed to do that so far this week against the Orioles and, more importantly, the Astros, which could happen sooner than you think. I think the Giants, and this is the difference, are positioned to do it tonight. The Dallas Cowboys are a mess. Cowboy fans know it. Deep down, Dallas Cowboy fans know it. They're panicked, too. They're talking about how they could somehow fire Mike McCarthy 4 weeks into a season
and
get Belichick out of his Manning cast contract so he could be their head coach. But this is the right moment to play them. This is the moment to seize on the issues that the Dallas Cowboys have. And even though you're so negative, Santa Claus back there, I call him Santa Claus because his Dexter Lawrence red Giants jersey makes me think he's Santa.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Evan.
Yes.
Look, you could paint to the ghost, and I think you're right. There is a lot of, I'm scared, I got to see it versus the Cowboys. I haven't seen it. Malik Neighbors was 13 years old the last time the Giants beat Dak Prescott. I mean, just keep that in mind. As you would put it, Obama was president the last time the Giants beat Dak Prescott. The fact of the matter remains, you could talk about the Cowboy dysfunction. You could talk about the positives the Giants gained last week. CeeDee Lamb destroys the Giants. CeeDee Lamb is not like Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors. He runs most of his plays out of the slot, where the Giants are down not one but two of their guys tonight. Who the hell is covering him? Micah Parsons, I don't care who's on the Giants offensive line, eats us for lunch every single time out there. And oh, by the way, as much as I love what Devin Singletary's brought to the table, 2 straight games for a fumble, and there's going to be wet balls all over the field tonight in East Rutherford. I have a lot of reasons for pessimism, and it feels like Cowboys homecoming tonight.
I'm glad that you're on the island. I'm glad that you're not anywhere near MetLife Stadium bringing that negativity, Sean.
I'll be the first one waving pom-poms at 11:30, though.
You know what you do for a wide 9 defensive end like Micah Parsons? Run at his ass. Run right at him because he's going to back up. He don't want that smoke. Run at him.
We had Saquon. We never did it.
I mean, it's because we had Evan Neal at right tackle.
Oh, fair.
All right, so he's attacked the Micah Parsons thing. How about the Devin Singletary thing? Is there anything you're seeing that has you concerned? Because Devin hasn't had a fumble issue in his career.
It's an awareness through contact thing. He's just not aware of when contact is coming. So the first one, 2 weeks ago, when he was running left with the ball in his right hand, he thinks he's clear of the pressure coming from the inside. So he's not paying attention to it. And then he gets swiped down on the inside instead of having it in his left arm, which was hard. In his defense, it was hard for him to switch it. The second one, which happened last week, he's going through traffic in the middle of the field, and a defender, I forget which defender it is, 58 for the Browns, like he misses him, and he just tries to swipe him away. Right? He's already down. He's already past them. But Devin Singletary's trying to swipe him away with his off-ball hand as if that's going to do something for him. And the only thing it does, it exposes you, right? Because as soon as you start like using your offhand to do crazy stuff, your ball hand does the same thing, right? So when you move your offhand away, you lose some balance. You have to extend your other arm to gain that balance back, and you expose the football. So it's simple. When you're going through contact, cover it up.
Yeah.
It's easy. High and tight. Put the X across your body. You will be fine. You will never lose a football. And by the way, you'll stay on balance. So to me, it's just contact awareness for Devin Singletary.
They cannot, this is an obvious statement, but sometimes obvious statements are necessary. They cannot afford another Devin Singletary turnover this week.
They can't.
They can't.
They can't.
So
now, they got lucky last week.
They did. Look, sometimes you do get lucky. It's tough to get lucky with those kinds of mistakes. Just
Right.
like the mistake they made to start the game
But
last
it was
week.
unlucky against the Commanders because that was a drive in plus territory.
Yeah.
It probably would have ended up in some points.
And look, you're right, Sean, about the issues in the secondary. Adoree Jackson's out. Drew Phillips is out. He's been off to a great start. The limited amount of time he's been out there as a rookie. The way to solve the CeeDee Lamb issue is get to Dak Prescott. He won't have time to throw to anybody.
Well, it's easier said than done. And I'll give you one more little nugget that's important, that's not sexy to talk about. Do either of you think the Giants are capable of blowing out the Dallas Cowboys?
Blowing out.
Yep.
No.
No. Evan?
Why does it have to be a blowout, though?
No. Unless they score defensive touchdowns.
This is called, in radio, this is called setting you up, Evan.
Okay.
Do you think they're capable of blowing them out?
I'll get set up. I think anybody is capable of blowing anybody out.
Well,
so I ain't playing your game.
All right. Well, here's why I play that game.
Yeah.
If the Giants, the formula is to win this game, the game is inevitably going to be close. We have no idea if Greg Joseph can make a field goal. We have no idea if he can make a field goal in the rain. And they have a kicker that can kick 70-yard field goals.
Right.
That could very well be the factor tonight in more heartbreak.
So it's a great point, but I counter with this, and I'll use 2 weeks ago as an example. When you have a great kicker, and it's better to have a great kicker. No one's saying I wouldn't want one. But when you have a great kicker, it allows you to play more conservatively. It allows you to play for a field goal, like Brian Daboll did last week, which he shouldn't have done. 2 weeks ago, when he didn't have a kicker, he was more aggressive. And I think we all agreed, wow, it actually benefited the Giants offensively that they scored more touchdowns than they would have if they had a kicker. So I'm going to give you the positive that not having a kicker that you're that confident in will actually benefit them, because then we'll see Brian Day balls and we'll see the head coach that's aggressive like we saw last week on fourth down early that kind of changed the tone of the game. So I give you, I'd rather have Justin Tucker, of course. I'd rather have Brandon Aubrey. I'd rather have a kicker I trust. But sometimes not having a kicker forces this head coach to be the aggressive guy we all want him to be.
Right.
That's a good answer.
By the way, Greg Joseph needs to just change his number. Change his number. It'll make you a better kicker.
What number is he wearing again?
34. It just looks bad.
Yeah. It's an ugly number.
Look like a kicker number.
Fix
and I
that.
know it's just given to him, but he needs to go into the training room, go equipment room, and say, guys, I need a different number.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good. It looks like a backup running back trying to kick an extra point.
Yeah, it does.
Or a field goal in this case last weekend, that 40, what was it, the 47-yarder?
48
48-yarder. Yeah, because they put it back 7 yards because it's on the 30. Yeah, or 18 yards because it's on the 30. Like, he just looked bad.
Yes.
And then he knew he missed it as soon as he kicked it. And so
I think we all did.
Yeah, I was just we all knew.
we all had
you
the
can see
same
his
feeling.
mannerisms. He just like looks down. It's like, oh, what did I kick? Did I hit a divot or something?
Yeah.
It's like a bad golf shot.
But I saw you nodding, Sean. You actually agree with me.
I do.
It's going to force Daboll to be more aggressive.
However,
what's wrong with that?
It's also going to all force us, if a drop happens on fourth down, to scream and yell about how we weren't trying field goals. So it works the other way, too.
I understand. Are the Giant fans on the side of Sean feeling all negative and dirty that Ghostbusters Week has been a complete disaster?
I'm not even excited for the game.
How are you? You love football.
I think it's what I said earlier.
do.
I think it came too quickly.
Yeah. Too quickly.
It did.
Thursday night football is fantastic for a fan, and it's not your team. But when it's your team, it happens way too quickly.
Dude, last week, I could not sleep all day Wednesday night because I was pumped about
because you
Thursday.
knew you were going to win.
Right. If the Giants are playing the Jaguars tonight on Thursday Night Football, I come in, my face is painted.
Right.
First of all, I didn't know they were going to win. I know
you
it
did.
turned out to Jets-Patriots. I knew for sure.
Well, if you listened to anyone who had any kind of opinion on it, you knew that they were winning for sure.
I didn't. Tiki, I never know for sure my team is winning, especially the New York Jets.